Looks like we have some wind and some snow and some ice. I'm testing the lavalier. About 16 degrees here at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, January 22nd. Let's go out the door with the home team. Steve, it's been 5 days since I've seen you. Actually, I saw you yesterday. Rex got to go out yesterday, but today's the first day he's going out the door for Weather and More with the video camera rolling. Sorry, don't need to yell. The wireless lab is working just fine. And there goes Steve. And let's see, I already did the introductions. 9 o'clock, 16 degrees. And a lot has changed since we left, like the snow and how deep the snow is. It's all drifted around, and it's drifting differently now than it used to because they cut down all the trees. As a matter of fact, there they are, working right now on the trees, doing some clearing. It's sort of like those firefighters out west, but not fighting a fire. So let's do some measuring. Steve's not moving. The snowdrifts here are about 6.5 inches deep. So there's more snow in Florida this morning than there is in Weymouth, in New England. How does that happen? Well, it's called high amplitude flow. And the imagery coming out of the deep south is more than once in a lifetime. It's sort of once in several lifetimes. For example, 5 degrees this morning in Lafayette, Louisiana. The old all-time record low temperature in Lafayette was 6 degrees, set in February of 1899. And the snowfall amounts in Louisiana around Lake Charles, 10 inches of snow. I think that's pretty much all time since records began. I'm sure somebody's great-great-great-great-grandfather that loved weather measured more snow than that, but it would have been centuries ago. And the imagery is just extraordinary. I think some of my favorite would be Canal Street in New Orleans yesterday. Who has ice skates and a hockey stick just sitting around New Orleans? Oh yes, ice rinks, that's right. But usually not on the streets. And Pensacola, Florida this morning, Interstate 10. What's a snowplow? What is a salt truck? We don't have those. So it was a challenging morning for those getting started in the deep south all time. How can this happen? Well, just like in the ocean, water is a fluid and air is a fluid. So, for example, let's see, we had some ice form last night, right? In the lee of this wind, which is just kind of brutal right now. So you had some ice form in the lee, and that's, even ice is a fluid, but then the wind broke off a piece of ice, and that ice, along with the current, is flowing out towards Hingham right now. Even though our air is coming from the north, that ice looks like it's moving towards the east. So different currents, opposing energy fields, and waves that can sometimes attenuate, that is, they dissipate, or sometimes they can, oh shoot, I forgot the word. Waves, if they dissipate, it's attenuation, and if they match up, they resonate. So sometimes waves attenuate and sometimes they resonate. And when waves resonate, you can get such thing as called a rogue wave. And it happens in the ocean, the QE2 off of in the North Atlantic in September of 1995. All the waves around the ship were 40 feet tall, and then a 90-footer came right over the bridge and bent the equipment on the rail on the top of the bridge. The captain called it like encountering the white cliffs of Dover, and that was in the ocean. Well, it can happen in the atmosphere also. So what happened in the atmosphere, this is from a couple of days ago, you had a direct shot of air from the North Pole down south through central Canada into the central United States. At the same time, there was another wave coming from off of Hawaii. And so that was a tropical Pacific wave, and it hit an Arctic wave, and they resonated over Mexico and the Gulf of Mexico, resulting in this once in every 3 lifetime type event that is occurring right now. It's just ending in the southeastern United States. Snowfall totals in the order of 5 to 10 inches. So that's more snow from Houston to New Orleans to Pensacola than we've had in Boston in the last week anyway. And so that wave is now attenuating and moving out south. And on the northern edge of the front, that wave, by the way, that was only about a 10, 18 low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico. And the northern edge of the front lifted all the way up into New England. So this morning on Nantucket, an inch and a half of snow. And now an inch and a half of snow doesn't sound like much, but it hasn't snowed very much at all on Nantucket in the last couple of winters. So even though everyone's just talking about the cold, that snow on Nantucket was kind of a spectacle also this morning. And it was still snowing on Cape Cod a little bit in Nantucket. This is the view at Bass River, my webcam there in Bass River. So this is day 22 in a row of New England snow. And how cold here? Pretty close to record cold, but just even 3 years ago today, we had a similar high pressure system. We have about a 1031 high over us, and we had one of those 3 years ago. And temperatures, many records were set of 15 to 25 below zero 3 years ago. Temperatures today also are about 15 to 25 degrees below zero, so some really challenging record cold. I think we may have set some records around Keene, New Hampshire, where it was 18 or 19 below zero, where records have not been kept that long. But in Boston, I think the record is really old. I didn't memorize it. And Blue Hill, it was 8 below zero on this date some time ago. I didn't memorize. And in 1961, more than a lifetime ago for me, it was 25 degrees below zero in Hartford, Connecticut on January 22nd, 1961. That was 2 days after President Kennedy was inaugurated outdoors in Washington, D.C. in a snowstorm that happened 2 years before I was born. And interesting, isn't it? That was the all-time low, and I'm sure it was a high barometer on the backside of a storm on that one also. So what's going on now? This wave of low pressure off Cape Cod is moving away, and the wind is from the north. That's why it's still snowing a little bit on outer Cape Cod this morning, just coating on Cape Cod. So now it looks like we're going to just kind of go into a quiet pattern with several more surges of Arctic air. And I think tonight is just about as cold as last night, with temperatures again going sub-zero where the breeze lets up. On that temperature map, most of those temperatures were where it was calm, the low temperature. For example, this morning let's see, it was 18 degrees below zero in Jaffrey, and it was 7 above in Worcester. 25 degrees colder in the valleys this morning than it was in the hills. That's high barometer cold, and that's because of the inversion that sets up. And so if you get an inversion, it gets colder in the valleys. But I think the breeze is going to pick back up with these fronts coming along. Here's the Shrewsbury meteogram, and I'm going to kick back to where I left off a couple of weeks ago using the Euro day by day. And you see the temperature today only struggling to about 15 degrees. And tonight, again, a sub-zero night in a lot of spots. And then a little bit of a front's coming through late tomorrow night, and it'll warm up a tiny bit, and then it'll cool off again Friday into Saturday with maybe some snow squalls in the mountains. And then it looks like maybe a little action early next week, and then way out there at the end, now we get into February 1st or January 31st, there's a day in there where yesterday's run had 2 below zero for a high temperature in Shrewsbury on January 31st, and now it's up to about 15 or so. So we are not done with the cold by a long shot. It's going to be fluctuating up and down. I think I'm going to give T-Rex a little bit of a break. He's standing over here shivering. Time out and let T-Rex in. The clip was frozen. It took me a few minutes to do that. I had to take my gloves off. I can put my gloves back on. Come out. Steve, he's not going too far. He's not really tied to anything. What did I do with my snow measuring device? Because we've always wanted to know how deep it is on Steve. Well, if he were to come over to this drift, we've got about 6 or 7 inches. So if he was laying in next to the drift, it would be almost head high on Steve. But he's smarter, so he's hiding under the bush. Yeah, getting home yesterday and having to shovel, that wasn't the funnest thing in the world. It was icy underneath, but Doug, that really helped that you helped pre-treat for me. Now let's go to the Euro day by day. First, let's watch some action down here. They're really clear-cutting, and it's a lot colder without that brush blocking the wind right here. Whew. All right, here's the Euro. Speaking of cold, it gets colder again, I think, than today, because that shot of cold, by the way, came from the North Pole directly down to the Gulf of Mexico. We saw that high amplitude flow map, so we didn't get a direct charge of the coldest air here. But that may happen, though, in the next 3 weeks with these surges. Obviously, it's hard to make these forecasts so far out. Here it is. the departing low off of North Carolina, and then the center of this high goes offshore, and there were some signs that on the backside of this high going offshore, something would develop south of Cape Cod tomorrow night, and there it is, and it looks like a miss, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nantucket wakes up to more snow again on Friday morning. And then when you watch the air coming out of southeastern Canada, it's hard to detect, but you see all that packing of black lines, isobars, and blue lines. Those are at 500 millibars. That is cold and windy, and the temperature continues to go down. Oh, Santa's put his sleigh into high gear. Let's watch this little Mighty Mo go. Delivering the wood chips to a stash staging area on the other side over there. All right, back to these maps. So these little short waves, one coming through northern New England, looks like Friday night and Saturday with some upslope snow, and then a new surge of colder air coming in with any southern systems missing us well off to the south. It's warming up across much of the nation, but not in the Great Lakes states and eastern Canada. Another shot of colder air coming in. Looks like low tries to come across maybe Monday or Tuesday. Really tough to time with some snows, perhaps getting down into southern New England. The rain snow line coming north a bit, but most of those are fast moving and weak, looking a little weaker than they did yesterday. But there'll be some surprises in there. And then as the central and western, southwestern parts of the United States warm up, we keep getting these surges of cold, and we take it all out to 240 hours. Now we're out to January 31st, and we'll put it out there and freeze it, and literally freeze it, because again, we have a high pressure system over the middle of the nation, and this time it looks like more of a direct discharge of cold from the North Pole right into New England. And you look at those thickness numbers again, remember the Arctic air thickness is 510 and 504, 498, 492, 486. So that is frigid. Probably not matching February 2023 on Groundhog Day. Remember when it was 5 to 10 degrees below zero right in Boston, but looking pretty close to something like that. So some of the coldest air in a couple of years, obviously a couple of centuries in the south and a couple of years here in the northeast is in the forecast. What else did I want to share? I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place, and I'm distraught about so many things. You know, the fact that people got upset with me for even being in the same city with the new president, that's kind of weird. And then coming home to this barren landscape and having all-time record cold and snow. And another thing that's kind of bothering me is that there was a ladder right here. I left a ladder sitting right here, and it's gone. Has anyone seen my ladder? There's no way it blew off. It was an aluminum 20-foot extension ladder, and the balls that were in the ladder are sitting right over here. So, I'm flummoxed for so many reasons. Steve and I play with these balls. They went down the cliff. I go and pick them up. You've seen plenty of times. I mean, T-Rex and I. Yeah, and Steve too. Steve, everything cool over there? Let's go down and take a look. So the Enmore is going to be flight home yesterday. Always love flying, window seats, and flying with a tailwind. Oh yeah, speaking of tailwind, some plane going from Las Vegas to London measured an airspeed of 814 miles an hour, almost sub-supersonic 835 miles an hour, and that's all also because of that jet stream up high in the sky, that rogue wave. All right, the stairways are still there. The roots are still in the ground here. You can see that. So they're basically just cutting it right down. Eventually the roots are set to come out, but as long as the roots are still there, I mean, we're not going to lose our banking. Hard-working men. Any of you guys seen a ladder? Brisk. So yeah, lots of shocks to the system. Oh, want to measure snow? How about this snow? Measuring snow. Yeah, this is how much snow I have. 13 inches underneath this drift. And look at these drifts. So we're going to end up with more snow. This is kind of an old-fashioned winter. Look at these fine forms. This is my peony. And there's waves. See the waves? I talk about rogue waves. That's a rogue wave right there. These are all waves, and that's what happens in fluid dynamics, rogue waves. They're not new, and they're going to keep happening, and we're going to keep studying them, and we're going to learn more, and more, and more, and more. Now, and more from yesterday, coming home and having to shoveling snow, and this too shall pass. This much in the gauge right there, ½ inch. All right, talk to you tomorrow, Lord willing. 15 degrees out here. Brisk! Going in. Checking out, and the roads are open. All those fences have come down. Yay.
Largest public selection.
Just drank 2,700 whiskeys last night?
The largest selection on the Western Hemisphere.
Oh my goodness.
2,700.
What's the name of the establishment?
I'd have to, give me a second.
That one we walked by last evening on the way back?
No. Yes, that's me.
And there's the northern edge of the storm with the blizzard in New Orleans. And we're going to the airport.
All day. So she's
Look at all these things, man. Look at all these cranes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is going on here? Belfort, Beatty, Gilbane. There's the Lincoln Memorial. All these things that... What's your name?
Nancy.
Nancy? Tim, nice to meet you. Gave up. I was wearing Kathy's shawl, the big heavy white coat, for the rest of the night, and I didn't see them again for 2 hours.
Sometimes.
But I met a bunch of people, and every guy I met thought it was cool that I had a bow on, and every guy said, I hate these parties, I don't know why I'm here. Potomac remains frozen solid.
But, you know, instead...
This is so fun. This is the Memorial Bridge, and there's another monument up there, so this is as much sightseeing as we've done as the history. See you next time, Washington, D.C. Needless to say, the airport is a zoo. We just got through about 5,000 people pretty quickly. I'm not sure how we did that. Oh, 1:30 on the plane. Looks kind of like a snow sky, but I don't think this one's supposed to reach this far north. We're going to leave it in the rear view.
At American Airlines, thank you for flying with us today. A special welcome to Advantage and One World members. If you're not an Advantage member, you can sign up at AA.com to earn miles for today's flight. Continue earning miles daily with our retail and travel partners. Our Advantage Aviator Redwood Elite MasterCard is another...
It's kind of overcast over southern New England. We're going down into the cloud. Would like to see the snow on the ground around New York City, but not this time. Getting a little bumpy. To probably some kind of an inversion layer right here.
We're from the cockpit making our way down into Boston. Should be on the ground here about the next 15 minutes or so. Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.
Didn't expect this low stratus layer, really. Almost looks like it's snowing, doesn't it? Scituate, North River. I'm not sure what golf course that is. South River, rather. There's the North River. Going right over where we used to live. There's the Spit. North River and South River come together. Up a rock. It's kind of called the Fourth Cliff. We call this one the Third Cliff. The Spit. Scituate Country Club.
remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the seatbelt sign is turned off. Keep the all clear of all carry-on items. Take a moment to check your seat back pocket for any personal items like tablets and cell phones. When you open the overhead compartments, be careful as items may have moved in flight.
Don't you love the team that wears the shorts regardless of the temperature? Yes, 19 degrees outside. Thanks for guiding us in there. Shorts man and the winter man. They come into the carpool lane by themselves and they're getting all pulled over. So good to be back in Boston. Total snow sky. It's gonna snow more than they said, I think. And we're back. And there's some spots with 0 snow, some spots with 9 or 10 inches of snow. And we start off by shoveling. 5 o'clock. It's still a little bit of light on the horizon. And what do we got? About 18 degrees or so. And some heavy shoveling out there. It's a lot of work having this much fun. Exhausting, actually. But made enough of a path for Ginny and T-Rex. And one of my neighbors was kind enough to take a snowblower across the top of the driveway and do our sidewalk out front. That's usually TK's job. Look at the sky down there. That looks like snow, doesn't it? I haven't checked anything, but I guess it's snowing pretty close to Cape Cod. And it's also ice dam season, right? So how about a time lapse? Yeah, plenty cold, but usually with a west wind. Doesn't snow, not very much. You see the ice forming over there.